This is the story of Fred Jones, the engineering genius in Thermo King's history. The story is told by Dwight Scott during a visit to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Dwight will take us through some pivotal moments in Fred's life and share some insights into the man who had a million ideas. Sit back and prepare to be inspired.
My father was Irish, my mother was black. I was born May 17th in 1892. Unfortunately, I never knew my mother. She died shortly after I was born. But my father, to his credit, he would take care of me. We would go around from time to time, town to town, going to different boarding houses as he worked. And he would put me up at the boarding house and have the landlady take care of me during the day. Many times, he'd come home from a long, hard day's work to find that I'd taken something else of his apart, like his pocket watch. And mind you, I'm only 5 years old at the time. And he would come in and see that I had spread out the pieces of his pocket watch all over the floor. And I would look at each one to see how it worked. And then I would put it all back together. How many of you were like that, taking things apart when you're here? Could you put it all back together? Mm-hmm. Oh, excellent. See, that's the kind of guy that I was, too. And as I say, 5 years old. When I was 6, my father bought me a new wagon. Now, the old wagon, it creaked and could hardly turn. He had made it himself. But this new wagon, it rolled so smoothly, I had to figure out why. So what do you think I did? I took it apart. I had to take it apart. And what I found out about were these, what we call this series of balls in the track there. What are those?
Ball bearings.
Ball bearings, exactly. And that's the kind of kid that I was. I had to figure out, how do things work? And maybe I could make them work even better. By the time I was 9, though, my father thought I needed a more stable life, a more formal education. So we packed my few things. We walked across the bridge from Cincinnati over to Covington, Kentucky, all the way to St. Anne's Church. And he talked to the priest there, Ryan his name was, and he convinced him to have me stay there at the rectory, the house next to the church, and go to the local public school. Well, I thought my father, he'd find a job on the railroad, spend a week, a month or so, come back, spend time with me, find another job in another town, a month, come back, spend time with me. But that day he left me there in Covington, Kentucky. That was the last day I ever saw my father again as well. I have no idea whatever happened to him. Railroading in those days, late 1800s, early 1900s, very dangerous work. Something terrible could have happened to him. And who would think he had a child back in Covington, Kentucky? So there I am, an orphan by age 9. Well, I went to the local public school, but on the weekends, I would sneak back over to Cincinnati. And I made friends with an old chauffeur. He drove this wealthy Cincinnati family around. People were starting to drive these new horseless carriages, and I just fell in love with them. And he let me polish the beautiful cars that he had to drive, and as I did a good job, which I always did, he let me get in the car. As a treat, he'd drive out of the garage, around the alley to the front of the mansion. I just fell in love with these new cars that people were starting to drive and ride. I wanted to find out everything I could about them. Well, after 6 years of going to school, I started to get restless. I started to think, what should I do with my life? My life, you might say, always came to this fork in the road. I could either make a decision that took me one way, or I could make a different decision that would take me a whole different way. But the first thing I did was I went back to Cincinnati, and I went over to Crothers' garage. And I went up to Mr. Crothers and I said, I want to learn how to fix these cars. I want to learn how to become a mechanic. It was Friday. He said, come back on Monday, we'll talk about it. You think I could wait till Monday? No, that next day, Saturday, I parked myself out in front of Mr. Crothers' garage and waited for him. When he arrived, he said, this boy is serious. And so he hired me on. So now I wasn't just polishing cars. Now I was learning from all the mechanics how to fix these new cars. And after 3 years, I became the foreman of the shop. It's just how my mind worked. It was just made for machinery. But we didn't just fix cars, we also put parts of cars together, parts of other machinery together to make auto racing cars. And so I designed a car. It was going to race in Indiana. But as I got close to the time of the race, Mr. Crothers said, Fred, I'm going to have you stay back and take care of the shop. I'm going to have the guys in the front office go race the car. I'm thinking to myself, here I am, practically designed this car, and now I can't even watch it race. It was the day of the race, and I'm thinking to myself, should I obey my boss and stay back and take care of the shop, or should I just close up and go off and watch my car race? What would you do?
Watch the car race.
Watch the car race? I couldn't help it. I went and watched my car race, and you know what? It won. I was so excited. The guys in the front office said, Fred, you basically designed this car. Why don't you drive it back to Cincinnati? Oh, I felt like the King of England driving this car back to the shop. And when I got there, who did I meet? My boss. He says, who do you think you are, just closing things up when I told you to keep the shop going? I think you need some time off. What does that mean? Consequences for decisions that we might make. I was kind of a touchy kid, probably deserved it. I just set off again, and I would ride the rails. I became a vagabond, a hobo, you might say. I would hop on a train, go into a little town, hop off the train, work for food, hop on another train, go to some other town, work for food. And after a while, though, I arrived in Chicago. I'm thinking to myself, I'm tired of all this moving around, running around. I need to settle down. I should go back to Cincinnati and get that job back as a mechanic. So I hop a train. It's late at night. I'm exhausted. I fall asleep. But when I wake up, instead of that train headed east, like I thought, it had headed further south and west into a little town called Effingham. I get off the train. I see the Pacific House Hotel. And I go up to the owner. I say, I'll work for a place to stay or some food. He said, I'm about to sell this hotel, but I need to fix this steam furnace before I can sell it. If you can fix the steam furnace, you've got a place to stay. I said, sure, I'll fix your steam furnace. Had I ever fixed a steam furnace before? So I'm looking at the furnace and the pipes that had just been delivered, and I'm thinking about it. The man that had delivered the pipes, he said, say, you don't have the tools to fix this furnace, do you? I said, I guess I don't. He said, you can borrow mine. With everything, I could see the parts, I could see the tools, I could think about the goal that I had in mind, and so I just set to work. And I worked it all through the day and the afternoon. We fired it up, and it just worked beautifully. But more important than fixing that steam furnace, it was in Effingham, Illinois that I learned about a 7,000-acre farm near a town called Hallock, Minnesota.